A man pointed at his half-eaten steak and shouted, "I demand a full refund, it wasn't cooked right." When I noticed his plate was almost empty, I politely refused, and he smirked. "Then I'll just dine and dash." I pulled out my phone, dialed a number, and said, "Great, let's see how the cops feel about that plan. I've owned my steakhouse in Lafayette, Indiana for 11 years. It's a quiet place, not flashy, but we've built a loyal crowd. Mostly regulars, folks from around town, blue collar, and some college kids from Purdue. It's the kind of place where people still say, thank you, and tip in cash." That night started slow. It was raining steady, kind of night that makes folks stay home. Only a few tables were full. My usual server Katie was closing out a ticket near the register, while I handled things up front. I like to be on the floor. I'm not one of those owners who hides in the back. That's when he walked in. Mid-40s. Black leather jacket, dark jeans, gold watch, sunglasses still on even though it was already dark out. He smelled like an entire bottle of cheap cologne. You know the type. Big ego. Small talk. The kind who needs everyone to know he's important. He didn't wait to be seated. Just walked straight to a booth and sat like he owned the place. Katie looked at me. I gave her a nod and went over. "Evening, sir. Can I get you started with a drink?" He didn't look at me. Just waved a hand and said, "Scotch. Neat. Top shelf. Don't bring me the bargain stuff." "All right." I went behind the bar and poured a Glenlivet 15. Brought it over. He didn't say thank you. Just knocked it back and tapped the glass on the table for another. Then he ordered 14 ounces bone-in ribeye medium rare, with garlic mashed potatoes and grilled asparagus. He didn't say another word until the food came out. It sat there in front of him for 5 minutes while he scrolled on his phone and smirked at whatever was on the screen. Then he started eating. No complaints. No looks of disgust. Nothing. He cleaned the whole plate. I mean everything. Nothing but a tiny piece of fat and one asparagus spear left. After finishing, he motioned me over again. "This steak," he said, pointing to the empty plate, "was undercooked." I raised an eyebrow. "You ordered medium rare, sir." "Yeah, well, this was more rare than medium," he snapped. "Not safe. I want a full refund." I kept my voice steady. "You ate the entire thing." He leaned back in the booth, arms crossed. "Because I was starving. Doesn't mean it wasn't trash. Refund me. Or we'll have a problem. No refund for a plate that's been scraped clean," I said. Then he said it. He smiled, this little smug grin, and said, loud enough for Katie and 2 nearby customers to hear, "Then I'll just dine and dash." He laughed after saying it. Like it was a joke. But I could see in his eyes he meant it. I didn't smile back. I pulled out my phone. "All right then. Let's see how the cops feel about that plan." That wiped the smile off his face. I didn't call 911. I called Officer Trent. He's a regular. Comes in every Friday with his wife. Good guy. He answered on the second ring. "Hey Trent. Got a guy here threatening to walk out on his tab." Said it right to my face. "Can you swing by?" He said he was 5 minutes away. I hung up and stood near the door, arms crossed. Katie started filming. Just in case. The guy stood up fast. "You serious? You really calling the cops over a meal? You said you were gonna steal." I said. "That's a crime." He looked ready to run, but I didn't move. I'm not big, but I wasn't gonna let him get away with it. Katie was already live streaming on Facebook. Customers were staring. Then Trent walked in. Didn't ask questions. Just walked right up to the guy and said, "Hands on the table." The guy tried to argue. "This is harassment. I'm a paying customer." "You threatened to leave without paying," Trent said, calm as ever. "And you've done it before." That's when I learned this wasn't his first time. Turns out, this guy had pulled the same stunt at least 3 other restaurants in town. Order something expensive. Eat all of it. then throw a fit and demand a refund. When the owner pushed back, he'd storm out or threaten to sue. Most places didn't want the drama. But not me. Trent cuffed him right there in the entryway. I handed over the video Katie took, and Trent thanked me. The guy was screaming all kinds of crap on his way out. "You'll regret this. I'll ruin your little shack. I know people. You're done." I thought that was just hot air. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, my Google reviews tanked overnight. Dozens of one-star reviews popped up in 48 hours. All fake. All with weird usernames. All saying the same things. Food was raw, got sick. Owner screamed at me for asking about allergens. Horrible service, racist staff. I saw a rat in the kitchen. None of it was true. But people believe what they read. We dropped from 4.7 stars to 2.8 in less than a week. Weekend reservations dried up. Walk-ins slowed. We lost almost 60% of our business by the next Friday. I stayed up that night going through every review. Looking at names, profiles, patterns. And that's when I saw it. One of the accounts, Mitch Eats Raw, posted a photo. A dumb, blurry bathroom mirror selfie. It was him. He forgot to use a fake picture on that one. It wasn't about the steak. This guy wanted to wreck my life. And I decided that night, I was going to wreck his first. After I saw that photo, I couldn't sleep. I knew it was him. That smug face in the mirror. Same jacket, same stupid gold watch. He'd created all those fake accounts just to punish me for not giving him a free steak. But this wasn't just about revenge anymore. He was still out there. Still walking into other places, ruining good people. If I didn't stop him, he'd keep doing it. So I decided to fight back. I started by digging into every review he left. Cross-referenced his posts. Some of them led to other small restaurants. I called a few. One guy in Bloomington said he remembered him. Same routine, eats everything, demands a refund, then threatens to sue. Another place in Muncie got hit with a health inspection 2 days after refusing him. Someone had anonymously reported. Rat droppings. Sound familiar? I knew I was onto something. But I needed to know who this guy really was. That selfie he posted had a small clue. Behind him on the bathroom wall was a certificate. Couldn't read all of it, but I zoomed in and cleaned it up. It said, "Congratulations to Mitchell, top sales 2022. I finally had a name. Mitchell. I searched local businesses, LinkedIn profiles, anything with Mitchell and sales in the area. After 2 days of digging, I found him, Mitchell Carrigan. He worked at a mid-size car dealership just outside West Lafayette. Salesman of the Year 2 years in a row. Showed up in slick promo videos online, shaking hands with customers and calling them family. He had hundreds of 5-star reviews on the dealership's site. Played the perfect role. But I knew the truth now. I printed everything I had, screenshots, fake reviews, his posts, the bathroom selfie. I put it all in a manila folder and drove to the dealership on a Saturday morning. He didn't see me walk in. I asked for the manager. Told him I had information about one of his employees that he might want to see before it hurt their reputation. The manager, a guy named Dale, looked nervous flipping through the folder. "This true?" he asked. I nodded. "I got video. Got police reports. This guy's been running scams. Tanking local restaurants out of spite." Dale didn't say much. Just thanked me and told me to leave the folder. Said he'd look into it. I left not knowing what would happen. Then on Monday, one of Mitchell's fake accounts posted another review under Steak Lover 74. "I've taken down better businesses than yours. You should be scared." It was clear he knew I'd pushed back. And then it got worse. I got a call that night from Katie. She was crying. Someone had slashed her tires at work. All 4. No note. No witnesses. Nothing. I asked her if she had any enemies. No one. Except maybe that guy from the steak night. I told her not to worry. I'd cover the repairs. But now it was personal again. He wasn't just trying to destroy me anymore, he was coming after my people. So I did what I had to do. I reached out to Trent again. Told him everything. The reviews. The photos. The harassment. The tire slashing. He took it seriously. Said he'd keep an eye out. Suggested I set up cameras around the place just in case. 2 nights later, around 2 a.m., I got an alert on my phone. Motion sensor triggered out back. I opened the feed. And there he was. Mitchell. Standing by the dumpsters. Holding a can of red spray paint. He tagged the back wall of my restaurant with one word. Rat. I called Trent immediately. He caught Mitchell just a block away, spray can still in his hand. This time, they took him in overnight. But this guy? He was slippery. He bailed out before lunch the next day. Probably didn't even spend 10 hours in a cell. And I knew it wasn't over. I'd embarrassed him now, twice. Exposed him. Gotten him arrested again. Cost him respect at work. Maybe even his job. That should have been enough. But Mitchell Kerrigan wasn't the type to walk away. No, he came back harder. The next week, someone filed a complaint with the Indiana Health Department. They showed up with inspectors. Whole kitchen got shut down for the day over a credible anonymous tip about unsafe meat storage. We lost 2 full days of business before we could reopen. Another blow. Another hit. I started watching my back everywhere I went. And I realized something. This wasn't just about getting even anymore. Mitchell wanted to destroy me. Burn me to the ground. And he didn't care who else got hurt along the way. So I made a new plan. If I was going to stop him, really stop him, I had to hit him where it would hurt the most. Not just his job. Not just his pride. But the one thing he cared about more than anything else. His image. His lies. His secrets. And I had just started to find out what those secrets were. Once the health inspector left, and I was allowed to reopen, I sat in my office late that night and looked at the wall. There was still a red stain from the word he sprayed. Rat. We'd scrubbed it, painted over it, but in the right light, you could still see it bleeding through. That's when it clicked. Mitchell didn't care about money. He didn't even care about food. He cared about control. He wanted to walk into a place, take what he wanted, and leave people scrambling behind him. If anyone pushed back, he'd punish them. That was his pattern. But every bully's got a crack. And I was going to find his. I dug deeper into his online life. Turns out Mitchell wasn't very careful. His real Facebook account was mostly private, but there were leaks. Comments from family. Photos he was tagged in. That's where I saw her, a woman named Cassie Kerrigan. Wife. They'd been married for over 7 years. 2 kids, one around 9, the other maybe 5. The photos painted a perfect picture. Family outings. Date nights. Love of my life. Captions. But that's all it was, a picture. Because on a completely different site, under a different name, I found something else. Mitchell had an account on an executive dating app. One of those discreet ones for married people who want to cheat carefully. I wouldn't have found it, but he reused a photo from one of his car dealership ads. Same tie. Same background. Busted. He had a whole second life. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it yet. But I saved everything. Screenshots, profiles, messages. Even a photo he sent to someone that had his dealership name badge still clipped to his shirt. Then I got lucky. One of his reviews slipped. He used the fake name, Eric Diner 99, but forgot to change the email tied to it. It showed up as m.kerrigan@salisluxauto.com, an official work email. And he'd used it to leave a threatening, 1-star review calling my place a front for money laundering. So I printed it all. Every screenshot, every message, every post. I made 2 binders, one for me, and one I dropped off at the dealership addressed to Cassie Kerrigan, confidential. I figured it would get to her. Eventually. And it did. Because 2 weeks later, I got a message on my business's Facebook page. It was from Cassie. All it said was, "I believe you. Thank you." Then nothing else. But that wasn't the only fallout. About 3 days after that, a new round of reviews hit my page, but this time, they were positive. People with real names, real profiles, all saying they were sorry for the attacks, that they loved my food, and that the steakhouse deserved better. And then came the call. It was from Dale, the dealership manager. "You're not gonna believe this," he said, kind of chuckling. "Mitchell quit. Walked out this morning. No warning." "Really?" I said, pretending I was surprised. "Yeah," he laughed. "His wife showed up here yesterday. Big scene. Screaming in the parking lot. Then she went inside, slapped him in front of the whole showroom. Took the kids, told him to rot in hell. I didn't say anything." Then Dale added, "Anyway, just wanted to say thanks. Turns out you weren't the only one he was screwing over." But that's not the twist. No, the twist came 2 days later when Katie called me again. This time, not about slash tires. She said Mitchell had been parked outside her apartment. Just sitting there in his car. Didn't get out. Didn't say anything. Just watched. And then drove off after 10 minutes. I filed a report, but nothing came of it. No law against sitting in your car. The next day, I got home to find a white envelope taped to my front door. No stamp. No return address. Inside, there was a printed photo of me standing behind the counter at work. Nothing written. Just the photo. That's when I knew it wasn't over. Mitchell had lost his job. His family. His clean image. Now he had nothing left to lose. And that made him dangerous. So I did the one thing I hadn't done yet. I went to someone who really knew how to take a man like him down for good. Her name's Paige. Private investigator. Old friend of my brother. Used to work fraud cases out of Chicago before going solo. She's sharp, quiet, and doesn't scare easy. I gave her everything I had. Told her the whole story. Every detail. She leaned back, arms crossed, and said, "You want to scare him or bury him?" "Both," I said. "In that order?" She nodded once. "Then I'll need full access to his online footprint. Bank info. GPS if we can swing it. This'll take time." "I've got time," I said. She smirked. "He doesn't." Paige worked fast. Within a week, she'd found out more about Mitchell Kerrigan than I ever expected. Turns out he was deep in debt. Not from child support, that hadn't kicked in yet. Not from losing his job, he still had some savings. But from gambling. Online sports betting mostly. A few shady poker sites. He was using offshore accounts, running credit cards up and moving money around like a man trying to keep a ship from sinking. Paige found out he owed over 20 grand to a guy in Chicago named Bruno, someone you don't just owe and walk away from. That explained the pressure. The rage. The need to control people like me, Katie, his own wife. Mitchell was drowning. And now that I had all of this, it was time to end it. We waited a few days. Watched his movements. Paige put a tracker on his car. Easy, since he parked near his old job almost every day, like he still couldn't accept being gone. Then I dropped the match. I called a guy named Reed, one of my oldest customers. Retired state tax investigator. Loved bourbon. Loved steak. Hated scammers. I gave him a folder and said, "Can you find the fire?" He grinned. "Hell yes, I can." 2 weeks later, Mitchell was audited. The IRS showed up at his rental house with a file thick as a Bible. Unreported income. Offshore activity. Large deposits that didn't match his tax returns. He never saw it coming. Paige and I watched from a coffee shop across the street as they walked out with boxes of files and a seized laptop. She looked at me and said, "He'll be busy for a while." But I wasn't done yet. I sent everything to Bruno, the gambling enforcer. Anonymously. Just a few screenshots. Enough to let Bruno know Mitchell had money but wasn't paying him. And then I made one last move. I sent the dating app evidence to every local church, business group, and car club Mitchell used to be part of. No threats. No commentary. Just facts. It spread like wildfire. By the end of the month, Mitchell Kerrigan was a ghost. His name was toxic. No one would hire him. No one would speak to him. His kids weren't allowed to visit unless Cassie was present, by court order. And me? I reopened my steakhouse under a slightly new name, same location, same menu, but with a rebrand to help shake off the damage he did. I kept the staff, gave Katie a raise, and installed full security systems inside and out. But here's where I'll be honest, I made a mistake too. I became like him for a while. Obsessed. Angry. Petty. I let it consume me. I hurt him in ways that weren't just about justice, they were about revenge. I wanted him to feel what he did to me. And I made sure he did. I don't regret defending my place. Or helping others. But I do regret how much I enjoyed it. The last time I saw Mitchell was 6 months later. He was sitting alone outside a gas station, in a hoodie, smoking a cigarette with trembling hands. He looked right at me as I filled my tank. He didn't speak. I didn't either. He just stared, like he knew it was over. Like he knew I was the one who ended him. And I drove off without a word. Because by then, I already had my answer. He never really came to my restaurant for a steak. He came looking for someone weaker. He just picked the wrong man.